One of the most common things that my clients come to me with is the feeling that they are constantly late in their PhD. And this is something that I feel happens a lot because there is this sense of urgency surrounding research. So it's quite funny for me to think about it because on one hand, we are sold that narrative that research is a creative process. It's a process that takes time, that takes dedication. You should have time to think, to reflect. Like it's very much this, romanticized process of, okay, you think about it and then you find a solution and so on. And then you have this reality in which research is just constantly urgent. It's really tied to this sense of urgency of hyper production, that you always have to be producing papers, you always have to be publishing and so on, which is for me quite contradictory to that original definition of what research is. I mean, research by definition requires creativity, but how can you be creative when you have 5,000 deadlines, when you have a supervisor who is maybe not supervising you, maybe when you have collaborators who are already 2 weeks late with answering your email and sending you the data. Like it's really, really hard to sort of have that sense of creativity when you are trapped in this urgency and constant feeling of being late. So what are some steps we can take in order to feel that burden a little bit less? One of the strategies that I always use with my clients is that this sense of urgency typically is very tied to a sense of not feeling that your tasks are complete. And when I refer to that, I often think of that to-do list that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're just unable to check these things off because there are always more things happening. And when you're not checking things off and adding more, it becomes, I would say, the never-ending to-do list of the PhD. So what can we do in order for that not to happen? The first strategy that I use with my clients, and the most important, is actually change the way we define tasks. So many times when I discuss that with my clients, like, what is your next week going to look like? What are the things that you are trying to achieve? And they say, well, I want to fix the model, I want to figure out that thing, I want to finish this experiment, and so on. And all of those definitions feel and are very, very vague. Like, what does it mean, figure something out? Literally, it can take a day, a week, a month, or even a year to figure something out. So when we are defining the tasks, the first thing that I always teach them how to do is to define those tasks in a way that they are achievable and, most importantly, completable. Because the fact of completing a task is something that it gives us a sense of control in something that, as research, in a discipline as research, which we cannot control too many things. So how would that sound in real life? For example, instead of saying, I'm going to finish this experiment, you can say, I'm going to run this experiment 3 times. Because this is already, it has a deadline, right? It has an end. After you finish the 3 times of running the experiment, it's going to be done, and you're going to be able to check it off and cross it off from your to-do list, which is already going to give you a sense of completeness, and it's already going to give you a sense of control, which is the thing that we are aiming for. The other strategy that I use with my clients is to make sense of the research they already have. So many times we are just putting things on the to-do list out of, I would say, habit, because our to-do lists are full, we are overworked, tired, overwhelmed, and so on. So we sort of learn how to function in that environment. However, if you take some time to structure your research, to think about how what you already have makes sense, that is going to give you a very, very clear insight on what you should focus next. So if you're in that stage of your PhD, if you feel super lost, if you feel that nothing makes sense, that you don't know how to connect all the bunch of random data and results that you have, I want to invite you to schedule a completely free intro coaching call with me on the link in the description. I will put the link down below. And in that conversation, we can establish exactly where you're at with your research, what are your current struggles and challenges, and what are the very next steps you can take in order to make sure you are getting a little bit closer to that finish line, whether on your own or with my help and support. So I hope that you found this video useful, and as always, see you in the next few days with another video. Bye bye.